Hand off the key. Not a chance. You never owned this, the will's worthless and you know it. Try me. Fists tightened on both sides, boots scraped across the old plank floor. The ancient cabinet groaned behind them as a low, angry crowd pressed in. You're making this harder than it needs to be. He shook his head. You made it hard 30 years ago. A sharp laugh, forced, brittle. You want to throw away your life for a rusted piece of metal. He raised the key high, light glinting on tarnished edges. Last chance, walk away before everyone knows what you did. Give me the key or I swear. He wouldn't, and the air rang with the threat not yet spoken. To understand how he ended up in that standoff, gripping an old key with everything to lose, let's go back to 48 hours earlier, before the truth rattled loose. The ribbed vinyl seat of the truck was torn open, exposing yellow foam and a flicker of coins lost in the crevice. Nathan shoved the last of his worn duffel behind the passenger pedal, watching the property manager kick a carpet remnant across the cracked lot. The bank account app on his phone blinked, $1.18. The pending eviction had finally become reality. Nowhere to sleep tonight but the rusted Ford outside the mill, 42 days and counting with nowhere stable. A blue official envelope flapped against the faded windshield, weighted down by the legal notice. Auction, 48 hours, sheriff's sale unless he could prove otherwise, and he couldn't. His hands, calloused and cracked from weeks hauling odd jobs, closed around the paper's edge. He read the words for the 10th time. Property, all chattels, cleared for auction. No mention of forgiveness for the one-time son, no room for mistakes or second chances. Don't pout, Nate, grown men bounce back. 30 years of that barked down from his late father's other family, the family that got the house, the business, the sympathy. But one thing had changed. An ancient, iron skeleton key now hung from his keychain, left for him by a grandfather everyone said died broke. Nathan remembered the day the lawyer's assistant passed it across her desk, eyebrows raised in apology. If you want, sir, you can have this. Keepsake, she said, voice barely disguised in contempt. Some people like that kind of sentimental junk. Deed jewels land, not for him, only a key brown with age, heavy as old sins. The real joke, he'd thought, was that nobody even knew what it unlocked. Yet something was odd. That night, with a flashlight propped on the glove box, he turned it over and spotted a string of faint punched numbers down the shaft, 311-1864. Above the numbers sat a stamp, SCOM. He snapped a photo and flicked through old images of his grandfather's living room, every object scrutinized for a clue. In a frame behind the grandfather clock's pendulum, he'd once seen a glint of metal set against the wood. Something about that memory didn't sit right, and in the darkness, hunger-gnawing, Nathan made a decision. If you've ever been handed less than crumbs and told to be grateful, and you suspected there was something more, something everyone missed, keep listening. Sometimes a worthless object is only worthless to the people who never looked close. The next morning, Nathan's boots crunched through frost as he angled down the alley that separated the abandoned textile mill from the brick mansion his family used to own. Broken slate, rotten timber, the area bore the wounds of a dying town. He passed the iron archway and ducked into the mold-flecked garage behind the house, where the old grandfather clock stood alone amid upturned furniture. The clock's face was stuck at 2:17, pendulum stilled. Dust layered its carved edges like a skin. He unlatched the glass door. The gold pendulum trembled at a touch. He pressed gently, nothing. He squinted, tracing the outline at the back cavity, feeling for any looseness. His heart hammered, just a trick of the light or something jammed in behind that panel. As he pressed 2 knuckles to the interior, something shifted. The rear enclosure clicked open, revealing a hollow space big enough for a fist. Stuffed inside was not treasure but a tightly folded envelope, and behind it a small linen pouch that jingled with unexpected heft. He fumbled the pouch open. Gold, raw and unrefined. Oddly shaped nuggets, dull surfaces bright beneath the dust. His breath caught weighty dents, more than he'd ever held in his life. A hand clapped his shoulder. He jerked around, nearly dropping the cash. The property manager stood in the doorway, squinting, "Thought I heard a rat in here," the man muttered. "What are you up to?" Nathan pocketed the pouch in one quick motion, just saying goodbye to the old man's clock. His voice wavered, but he forced a thin smile. "Don't take anything but memories," the manager warned, but wandered out again. Nathan eyed the envelope, hesitating just long enough for a decision. He slid it open. Inside was a brittle slip of paper written in his grandfather's blocky hand. "Nathan, if you find this, you're the only one who might look. Trust nobody, not even blood. The claim is still good, buried behind the mill's rock wall. Use the old key. SCOM owns nothing now. Your father's new family will come for all they can, but what they really want, it's locked away. Don't let their lies stand forever. TJ." His knees trembled. The basement. He remembered the wall worn, marked by initials, an out-of-place patch of stone always cold to the touch. That was his first memory, somewhere deep in childhood, forbidden to play there, warned away from something no one could name. He gripped the key so tight it left an indentation on his palm. This was no longer about sentiment. The main doors creaked open behind him. The property manager's muttering faded outside. Nathan locked the clock back in place, heart ragged, eyes darting. Boom! The revelation hit. The real inheritance wasn't what was listed in any legal document. It was something the last survivor had stashed where only a child who really remembered would find it. He had less than 48 hours until the sheriff's auction, and now he knew why someone with too many secrets wanted the place gone. He slid out of the garage, boots squeaking on slick concrete. The clock's face watched him leave with its blind, forever frozen gaze. He reached the old mill before dark. Every ridge and worn brick seemed to crowd him, ghosts of laborers and family members layered deep in the echoing hallways. Nathan ducked through the shattered glass door at the rear, clutching his duffel beneath his jacket and the rusty key inside his palm. Flashbacks cascaded, him at age 8, grandfather's hands on his shoulders. "Never touch that wall, Nate, don't ask why." His mother, voice shaking, "One day you'll understand. Not everyone deserves to know everything about this family." Inside, his breath mingled with the sweet-sour stench of oily rags and mildew. He counted steps along the familiar corridor. It led to the narrow basement door, half-rotted but still locked, a lock with a nubbled face, edges battered by years. The keyhole matched the skeleton key's shape exactly. He slipped in the old key and turned. Metal shrieked. The latch snicked open, heavy and final. Inside, the basement walls glistened with damp, cold dust flickered in the beams of his light. The rock wall at the end, rough, seams visible, initials TJ chiseled above a stone 3 shades lighter than the rest. He pressed his shoulder against the center stone, expecting resistance. Instead, it wobbled in place. He dug his pocket knife under the edge, pried, and the stone slid aside with a gritty sigh. Behind, a cavity carved deeper than his forearm, blocked by burlap. He pulled out the heavy bundle, gold again, raw, black-spotted, glittering among soiled wrappings, and not just 1 or 2. The whole cavity was filled, by rough count, more than he could lift at once. His jacket weighed down with the strain. "Not so worthless after all," he whispered, the words sucked up by the stone in silence. But that wasn't all. Taped to the inside of the cavity, a manila envelope. Original will, written in faded ink. His eyes stung as he slid it free. Footsteps echoed above. The faint scrape of boots, unfamiliar voices, someone else was here. He pressed back into darkness, holding the pouch tight. He waited, heart in his mouth, until the sounds faded. He climbed out later with the cash, the will, the key, limping on a twisted ankle gained from the stone's drop. Outside, the world's cold felt almost friendly. The sense of urgency was real now. Someone was watching him, or soon would be. He stuffed the pouch in his duffel and limped toward the old truck. The will in hand, he knew he needed someone who could help him make this right. 24 hours to the auction, and only one person he could risk trusting just enough. a local legal historian, Ruth Sawyer, who worked evenings at the county archive. Ruth didn't answer her phone, so Nathan showed up at the stone library near the railroad tracks. The lights glowed warm behind stained glass, the smell of old paper and cloth tape greeting him as he limped in. Ruth glanced up from a pile of ledgers, brows drawn to a point. "Nathan Cartwright, as I live and breathe, this is no hour for a social call." "I need your professional honesty," he blurted, clutching the envelope. "There's something here. I found a will, gold, it's not a joke." Ruth cocked her head, lips pursed. "People say lots of things on the eve of losing their birthright, son." He dropped the pouch onto the desk. The dull weight of it made her eyes widen. "This the real stuff," she breathed, poking at a chunk. "Not some old fool's gold." He nodded. "Feel it. Read this," he added, pushing the will toward her. She flicked open the envelope, thick with legal papers. Her lips moved silently as she read. After a moment, her jaw set. "Where'd you find this? This doesn't match the will filed by your father's estate. The signatures aren't even the same," she whispered. He whispered, "There's more. My grandfather wrote me a letter. He said not even blood can be trusted. There's talk of fraud, my father, his second life, all of it." Ruth's eyes scanned the document again, hands trembling the faintest bit. "Nathan, if this is what I think it is, we're talking about a fraud that goes back 30 years. Enough gold here to goodness to buy back a dozen of these old mills. Your father built a web around this place." "Meaning?" he pressed. "Meaning," Ruth said, voice dry as kindling, "your claims may upend the entire estate. But you'll need more than just documents. If you think you're up against your father's second wife and their sons, think again. There are others in on this." Nathan's heart sank, the pendant key suddenly feeling heavier than gold. "You think anyone will believe me?" Ruth tapped the gold nuggets, resolute. "Stick to the fact that this claim predates everything else. If it's real gold, the sheriff can't sell mineral rights you own outright. That'll freeze the auction while they sort the mess." "How soon do we have?" She checked her watch, voice tight. "Auction S at 10 tomorrow, less than 24 hours to show your evidence to the county registrar. And Nathan, some folks don't like their cover stories poked." He exhaled, already feeling the clock wind faster. Outside, the frost slicked the sidewalks. Nathan hobbled to his truck, scanning over his shoulder. In the alley's half-light, a figure lingered near the curb, a silhouette glimpsed once, then vanished. If he was going to save the mill, the claim, and whatever dignity was left, he had to move now. He spent the night cleaning the nuggets in motel sink water, counting each lump by unsteady lamplight. He cataloged documents, scanning the pages to a cloud drive in case someone tried to take them by force. Sleep did not come. At dawn, with nerves stretched thin, Nathan loaded gold and documents into a battered metal strongbox he'd found in the mill's supply closet. He hammered the lock shut and slung the duffel over his shoulder. He reached the county clerk's office by 8. The place buzzed, auction runners joking at the coffee urn, his father's second wife in pearls and fur sitting near the window, her sons leafing through their phone screens. There were others too. Lawyers, business partners, even the property manager, everyone eager for a carve-up. Nathan slid into a plastic chair near Ruth, who sipped sweet tea from a thermos. "Ready?" she murmured. "No, but let's burn the last bridge," he replied, forcing bravado. The clerk called the auction to order. Bids were about to begin when Nathan rose, box in hand, and cut across the aisle. "I have a mineral rights claim to file," he declared with a steadier voice than he felt, "along with an original will. Both predate the estate transfer." A chorus of objections rang out sharp. His father's second wife stormed forward, eyes blazing. "You have no right," she hissed. "That was settled 30 years ago. This is grandstanding." Nathan opened the strongbox, dropped a gold nugget onto the hardwood for all to see. It thudded solidly, indisputable. Ruth produced the letter, brandishing the claim documents. "You may want to consider," she said dryly, "that falsifying a will is a felony. We'll need the sheriff's office and the State Historical Society before going any further today." The crowd fractured, everyone shouting. Nathan's hands shook, but he kept going, producing the letter from his grandfather for Ruth to read aloud. Packed into the registrar's office, the room's temperature dropped. The second wife paled, sons shuffled their feet, the property manager blanched. Someone in the corner whispered, "Get a lawyer, quick." The sheriff himself appeared at Ruth's elbow, radio crackling. "We'll need to take everyone's statements. Auction S on hold until this is sorted," he announced. But things escalated faster than anyone expected. Nathan overheard a whispered argument outside the glass siding, his father's sons, their voices hard and fast. "You set this up, I told you he was digging." "Shut up, we'll deny everything, let the old mill rot." Within minutes, stories fractured as family confessions, threats, and panic erupted. Suddenly alliances crumbled, and each party began offering up evidence to save themselves. Emails, calls, old ledgers, enough to paint a picture of systematic forgery. Nathan sat at the center, numb, as each person turned on the next. The sheriff and Ruth sorted the evidence, the registrar ordered all claims frozen, and the state's historical society quickly submitted a secondary claim to protect the site as a heritage landmark. The final blow was the revelation that the gold predated every claim in the estate. The original will restored Nathan's rights. The house and mill could not be auctioned, at least not for now. In the aftermath, the estate transformed. Not only did the gold provide income, but the town's historical society repurposed the site as a museum and low-income housing. Nathan ran daily tour, sharing not only the story of the inheritance but opening the doors to families who'd once had as little as he. His father's other sons were fined, then exiled from all involvement. The second wife lost her claim entirely. As each had tried to save themselves, all their secrets unraveled. Their golden parachute became an anchor instead. The key, once dismissed as nothing, now hung in a glass case beneath a sign. Sometimes the lock holds more than you expect. When Nathan finally moved into one of the estate's renovated rooms, the air no longer bit with the cold of betrayal. He ran the place not as a fortress, but as a shelter for anyone who found themselves almost out of road. What's buried is never gone. Sometimes it just takes the right hands and an eye that won't look away to open the lock. And when the key finally fits, the world can change for more than just you. So if you've ever found yourself standing at a shut door, underestimated, holding only what others tell you is worthless, remember this. Value comes not from what they see, but from what you dare to find. And for some, the highest priority was never the gold. It was fighting for the truth to finally come out, no matter how deep it was hidden. But even after resolutions are written, paper can't quiet every echo, not in a place lined with secrets. Nathan first noticed it 2 weeks after the estate judgment, when the late November wind carried voices from the mill yard. He was hauling plywood to what would become the museum's break room when the sound, half shout, half sob, stirred the hairs on his neck. At first he thought it just old memories pressing through, but the voices sharpened, growing urgent in the sun-starved dusk. He set his load down and followed the sound through the gutted main hall, boots echoing where spindle looms once rattled. The place had changed, construction gutting the worst rot, walls half scrubbed, but history bled from the seams. The museum committee's heritage volunteers swept out corners and chipped at the graffiti, and Nathan moved among them as both host and custodian. He reached the side corridor near the back stairwell, the one that saw little light. There, hunched against the stone, was Alan Brandt, former property manager, now a day laborer, or so he claimed. The man leaned into the wall, eyes wide, breath ragged. "New ghosts or old debts?" Nathan said, voice soft so as not to startle. Alan wiped his face, hands still dirty with sawdust. "Didn't think you'd hire me back, Cartwright." His words tumbled out, brittle as glass. "After what I did." Nathan squatted to eye level. You warned me off, but you didn't turn me in. That makes you braver than most." "Does it?" Alan's shoulders jerked with a tired laugh. "I thought if I looked away I could keep my job, didn't want trouble with your father or his sons, then I knew about the wall, just not what was in it." They sat for a moment, the dust swirling around boot tips. "Some folks just want another chance," Nathan said. "This place, my name, used to mean trouble for people like you. It's time someone remembered that." He hesitated, the key chilling his palm inside his jacket pocket. "What did you come here to say, Alan?" Alan flinched. "It's about the cabinet, the one in your grandfather's office. Thought you'd want to know. Someone else tried to pry the hinges. Today, locks mangled." Nathan's throat constricted. Even now, with the will proved and gold counted, there were corners left untouched, and someone somewhere still searching for their slice. Together they crossed the damp brick to the old office, a relic Nathan had mostly avoided. The cabinet, its painted olive finish scarred by years of neglect, sat in the corner. As Alan said, the lock was fresh dented, its brass scraped, wood bruised by an impatient hand. Nathan exhaled, heart thumping. He dug in his pocket, the skeleton key's teeth scraping his knuckles. This key, it never fit the clock, only the basement. He pressed it against the cabinet, not expecting anything. It caught, surprised him, and then turned. With a rusty sigh, the lock yielded and the doors creaked open. Inside, against green velvet, lay another envelope. Nathan blinked. Alan whistled. "Well, you've got more secrets in this house than fleas in a barn cat," Alan muttered, all mixing with frustration. Nathan drew out the envelope. No dramatic label this time, just a single letter in the spidery, looping writing he knew as his grandfather's. "Nate, if you're reading this, you did what I never could. You broke the cycle. There's nothing left to claim but forgiveness. Pass it on." Beneath the letter rested a faded black-and-white photograph of the mill's original crew, all gathered along the wall outside. There was his grandfather, young and unsmiling, his father, still a boy, at the edge. A circle in pencil marked another, smaller child, Nathan's mother, her eyes brighter than any stone. Nathan's breath shuddered. This wasn't gold or land or any kind of leverage. It was something older, the root from which all the family's bitterness sprang, the memory of what had been before greed got in. He held the photo to the light, and Alan peered over his shoulder. "That your mom?" Alan asked quietly. Nathan nodded. "No one ever talked about her, not after she left, not even my grandfather. They let the silence do the work." A silence stretched, then Alan tapped the letter with his knuckle. "Forgiveness, that's the trickiest thing to ask for." His tone held the unease of someone rehearsing repentance. "It's not just about the gold," Nathan said. "It never was." Alan's gaze met his, steady. "So what'll you do with the rest of it, now that it's yours?" Nathan folded the letter, pocketed the photo, feeling the last of that family hate ease its claws from his chest. "Keep building. Maybe it can be different for someone else. Maybe forgiveness is a door, not a wall." He left Alan there, quiet among the battered chairs, and returned to the corridor. Sun sparked gold on the window glass. Footsteps approached, lighter and quicker. Ruth Sawyer came in, arms lined with blueprints and a battered mug. "You're up to something," she accused, with a fond exasperation only the truly tired can muster. Nathan grinned. "Just building another bridge." She set her bundle down, gave him a look. "There's a rumor enough gold's left to pave Riverside. Your old enemies are already angling for appeals, if you hadn't heard." "They can file whatever they want," Nathan said. "The clock's run out." Ruth's smile cracked the librarian's sternness. "They'll try, you know, new claimants, old ghosts. Land like this draws lawsuits like flies, but you're still standing, that's something." Nathan shrugged, a gesture with 30 years weight in it. "Thanks to the people who helped me look twice, even when I was sure it was nothing." Ruth patted his shoulder, then caught sight of the photograph peeking from his shirt pocket. "You found more." Nathan hesitated but handed it over. "My grandfather, my mom, that's the real inheritance." She studied it, her face gentler than he'd ever seen. Sometimes the truest things are hardest to prove. You never showed me a gold heavier than regret. They fell into companionable silence as Alan emerged from the office, a cautious hope in his step. In the months ahead, the three of them became the unlikely core of the new estate, Ruth with her records, Alan on repairs, Nathan guiding volunteers and welcoming neighbors who'd never seen past the Cartwright name. At the first winter open house, families streamed in, many once barred by his father's edicts or the town's old prejudices. Nathan noticed unfamiliar kids running up the main stairs, hands pressed to banisters still warm from restoration. In the kitchen, a woman paused to thank him, her words low. "We never thought we'd set foot here. My granddad built that fence. They fired him for talking to your mom." Nathan heard the unsaid apology in her voice, the old distance, and shook his head. "Whole place is yours now. No one's keeping score." Afterward, when the guests had trickled away and a gentle snow began outside, Ruth found Nathan near the old clock. "You did it, you know," she said. "You cracked more than the wall." He touched the glass, eyes tracking the frozen hands. Maybe the next kid who finds a locked door won't have to burn their hands just trying to open it. Ruth smiled, pressing her scarf tighter. "You still have the key." Nathan unclipped it from his belt and let her hold it a moment, its weight passing between them. "You ever think about what else is out there hidden like this?" she asked, not really expecting an answer. Nathan considered, gaze running along the gleaming walls, the old scars not yet painted over. "Sometimes I think every family, every town is built on secret rooms. I just hope more people get a chance to open theirs." He took the key back, and together they turned off the lights, letting the mill's halls settle into quiet. As weeks passed, the estate's reputation shifted. News articles called it the house that saved itself, lauding Nathan's odd partnership with Ruth and Alan. When the second wife's lawyers made noise about appeals, the town itself, benefiting from new jobs and housing, pushed back. Even the remaining Cartwright relations drifted away, outmaneuvered and out of leverage. Nathan worked long days and slept better for it, dreams no longer haunted by whispered threats or frostbitten mornings in an old truck. One spring morning, a letter arrived, a simple legal envelope, neat script on the front, B. Cartwright, C.O. Belleville Penitentiary. His father's widow, writing from her new address. Nathan opened it at the kitchen table, Alan sipping coffee nearby. "Nathan. It's strange, I used to be terrified of losing, certain that Cartwright meant power. I see now I mistook locks for doors and you for an enemy instead of a way out. I hope you find peace with what you've built. If you can forgive, do." "Basie." Nathan slid the letter to Alan, who read, then looked away. "Never thought I'd see that." "Me neither," Nathan murmured. He tucked the letter with the rest in the cabinet, now unlocked. No secrets left to hoard. That afternoon, just as mist crept in off the river and the smell of fresh paint wound through the halls, Ruth joined Nathan on the front porch. She carried a battered ledger. "They're ready for your opening speech," she teased. "Think you can handle a crowd?" Nathan smiled, only a little nervous now. "Long as they know it isn't just my story." As guests pooled on the lawn, he stood at the steps, gold light edging the mill's eaves. People pressed close, old men with calloused hands, new families with bright eyes, teens in thrifted jackets. Nathan cleared his throat. "This place once kept people out, locked away memories, opportunity, truth. But what's locked up doesn't always belong to just one person. I didn't win back this estate alone. I followed where others had the courage to look away from easy lies. This key, my grandfather's, then mine, now ours, opened a door for more than just me, for everyone who ever wondered if what little they had was enough." He lifted the skeleton key and set it in the case by the door, beside his grandfather's letter and the photo. "If you're here, you belong. Whatever was lost here, let's build something better in its place. Welcome home." Applause surged, strange and warm. That night, as the last lights dimmed and volunteers swept up, Nathan lingered by the open cabinet. Wind rattled the ancient panes. He tucked the skeleton key inside, where it belonged, atop a tangle of faded photographs, the faces of those who looked away and those who dared to look closer. He pressed the photo of his mother nearer the top, her eyes bright, a reminder of all the things he could never restore but could honor. As he turned to go, he let his hand rest a moment on the cabinet's scarred wood, the recess locked smooth beneath his thumb. No more mysteries, no more threats, only the quiet promise that truth, once freed, could hold a house together stronger than any chain. Tomorrow there would be more repairs to make, more families to welcome. But tonight, Nathan Cartwright left the doors unlocked, trusting that what was worth finding would always, in time, come to light. Morning broke with the hush of rain falling over the old mill, the soft patter giving way to voices in the corridor, laughter, footsteps, the clatter of mugs. Nathan rose early, stretching in his new quarters, the chill less biting than before. The warmth came not from the creaking radiator, but from the living, shifting company of people the estate now sheltered. Alan arguing with Ruth over where to hang the next batch of historic photographs, a mother showing her shy daughter the garden beds out front, volunteers checking paint swatches in the atrium. Nathan strolled the halls, greeting faces that months earlier wouldn't have met his eye. It was Alan who caught him near the kitchen, a mug in each hand. "Take one," Alan grinned, thrusting a steaming cup of coffee at him. "I hear you're giving the school kids a tour today. Hope you've got your best legend on tap." Nathan chuckled, eyes crinkling. "I was thinking I'd leave out the part where I nearly ran from my own shadow that first night in the mill." "Oh, tell 'em that," Ruth called from a doorway, smirking. "They'll like you more for it." He sipped the coffee, feeling the day unfold around him, the walls no longer whispering threats but gathering new stories, of friendship, of forgiveness, of second chances paid forward. By midday, a bus shuddered to a stop outside and a tide of children tumbled in, wide-eyed. Nathan led them through the restored halls, past the grandfather clock, pausing at the cabinet where the old key now rested in its case. He told them how not all treasures are gold, that sometimes what matters most is the courage to look twice. A boy raised his hand. "Were you scared being alone?" Nathan knelt, met his eyes. "I was, but then people helped. Sometimes the bravest thing is letting someone else in." As the afternoon waned, the rooms echoed with voices, laughter, and the knock of rain on the roof. Nathan lingered beneath the old portraits, watching sunlight thread through the windows, and felt the strange, quiet certainty that the estate was finally what it was always meant to be, not a trophy, but a refuge built on the strength of unlocked doors. And for the first time, Nathan thought perhaps he could belong too.